Hola clase. Okay, so today's focus is on the preterite, and so specifically the regular verbs in the preterite. So remember, the regular verbs are the ones that follow the rules. So first, to talk a little bit about the preterite, one little disclosure here. Your book spells preterite with an E, so you can find it with the E, without the E. Unfortunately, I go back and forth because I can't make up my mind. So just, anyway, notice that. In Spanish, the preterite is el preterito. So the preterite let's talk a little bit about what the preterite is in English. So the preterite, it's a past tense. And so in Spanish, we have two past tenses. Two simple past tenses. So you have the preterite and the imperfect. So the preterite, it is in the past, like I said, for English. And so typically in English, we would think of these like as your, the ed kind of endings. So for instance, if you said, I talked or I walked, so those would be the preterite endings. Of course, English, we've got tons of irregulars, so it would also be I ate, I ran, I swam. So all of those would be considered the preterite in English. So one thing that you want to, so one, you can notice, if it would translate to an ed, that helps you know that in Spanish you would use the preterite tense. Another thing to think about is these are going to, and we're going to get into this more when we get into the two tenses together, but these are viewed as actions that are completed. You can think of them as one-time actions. And so we're going to contrast that with the next tense that we're not doing in this chapter, but when we get to the imperfect, those are going to be the ongoing. So these are limited things. So I like to think of them as sequence of events or things that had a definite ending and beginning. So all of those should help. Okay, so first we're going to start off with AR verbs. So again, these are regular verbs, AR verbs, and the ones that follow the rules. So basically, for the most part, if a verb was regular in the present tense, it's going to be regular in the preterite, with some exceptions, because we always have exceptions. Okay, so remember in the present tense how we took that AR off, like if we had the verb hablar, and so we took off the AR and we added our new endings. So we're going to do the same thing with the preterite, but we're going to get new endings. So for yo, your ending was going to be E. So the E with the accent mark. Tu, your ending is going to be aste. El, ella, usted is going to be O. So an O with an accent. Notice already we've got two endings with an accent mark. I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about these in a second. Nosotros and nosotras is going to be amos. That should look familiar. Vosotros and vosotras is going to be hastes. And ellos, ellas, ustedes is Aaron. So let's talk about these endings for a little bit. So one, notice the accents, right? We're not used to that. Two, notice that the O, you're used to verbs ending in an O, but for the yo form. So that's going to take some practice. But this also goes back to why, especially if you'd had me in a face-to-face class, I always talk about the importance of the accent mark, because hablo, present tense, I speak, habló, preterite tense, he or she spoke. So by putting the accent and putting that stress on the end of the word, not only are you changing the subject of the verb, but you're also changing the tense of the verb. So those accent marks are super important. Same thing, without that E, you might remember that's the command form for hable. That's the usted command form. So if you don't have that E, the hable, right, you just said the wrong form, the wrong tense, the wrong mood. You just got it wrong. So make sure that you get those accent marks in there. Okay, another couple things to note. With the to form, I know that we are all very used to the to form ending in an S. In the preterite, it does not. So really watch for that. Don't let your instincts overdrive what it's supposed to be. Especially those of you that are heritage learners, native speakers, you get a tendency to kind of contaminate. I say that lightly because I say that like I've actually made the same mistake plenty of times. But you'll have a tendency to put an S on there. It should not be there. So be very careful when you're working on those forms. Okay, the nosotros form is the same form as it is in the present tense. So you're just going to pick this up on context, whether you mean now or you meant in the past. Then the vosotros form, so hasteis, look at the to form, haste. So it's like you add is, in English, the is. So all you have to do is remember the haste and then add is, and you got it for the vosotros form. So it's actually pretty easy to remember. And then we're used to ustedes forms ending in an N. So just a little fancier, right? A little addition there. So let's look at hablar conjugated. So we have yo hablé, tú hablaste, él, ella, usted habló, nosotros hablamos, vosotros hablasteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablaron. So, for instance, if I want to make the sentence and I want to say, I spoke with you last night. That would be yo. Again, the yo is always optional, right? Hablé contigo anoche. So, contigo, I don't think that we've covered that, and I don't remember when your book covers it. But if you say with you, you've got the T in here, right? And then con meaning with, but you got the extra go on there, but just for fun. So contigo is a word and conmigo is a word. So if you say with me, it would be conmigo, with you, contigo. Okay, so that's the AR verbs, and I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. No, I'm not, just kidding. Let me do one more AR verb for you just so you can see. And then I'll do a separate video for the ER and IRs. Okay, let's see. So let's just do bailar. So I danced, yo bailé. I'm going to kind of do this one in the chart form. Tú, you danced, tú bailaste. Él, ella, usted bailó. Nosotros bailamos. Vosotros bailasteis. And ellos, ellos, ustedes bailaron. There you go. So if it is a regular AR verb, all you need are those endings from up here. So you're just taking off the AR and you're adding your new endings. So that is the preterite for AR verbs.